Welcome to Media Opinion. I am your host, Drake Dragon. Today we're going to tackle something a little bit differently than our usual anime or cartoon reviews. We're going to dip into live action now, just for a little while, and talk about a show that has been the most interesting show I've seen on TV, probably in a very long while. It's a live action show called Eureka. So sit back, relax, and I will explain everything. So Eureka. Eureka is about a man about 30 to 40 years old. He's a U.S. Marshal that comes on into a town named Eureka, but this town is not exactly a normal town. Everyone in it is a genius. I don't mean like child geniuses, I mean like PhD, like multiple PhDs in things that you wouldn't even believe. You're talking about Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein smart. And he is in charge of making sure there's order in this town, as he, after the first episode, he is appointed as sheriff. So the show itself goes your typical story where he has a little bit of a love interest with one of the characters, and this is kind of a struggle to kind of really have a relationship with this individual. And each episode is a little bit different. Normally, something like this. Something goes wrong, and the sheriff have to figure out what's going on, and he figures something out. He ends up the smart people don't know what to do, and then he comes up with a basic solution to the problem, and ends up working. With comedy and drama ensues. That's basically the story behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with more of the actual other stuff that goes with the story, like the characters themselves. Unfortunately, because this is a live action, the animation, I don't know a whole lot about cinematography. So I will probably be giving my basic descriptions on what I think how good the show is. So the characters. We'll start from the main character. So the main character is the sheriff named Jack Carter. He's a simple guy. He's pretty much your typical American. Likes cheeseburgers, baseball, maybe a little football on the side, but he's basically your American average Joe. So basically he has a bit of a interest with one of the other characters. She is a genius, and her name is Allison Blake. She was once married to another genius, and Jack tries to woo her in a few ways that doesn't, most of the time backfires, even though she doesn't really understand what he's trying to do. So, but most of the time, Jack is pursued by the stuff that happens in Eureka, and he does solve the problem with extremely simple solutions that you would think an average genius would think of, but most of the time they don't. So it's mostly due to comedic effect, but I think it's a good idea to make the simple guy more useful than any of the geniuses. Now, one of the geniuses is actually Jack's friend. His name is Henry Deacon. He was previously working over the in the company of Global Dynamics, which is where all the geniuses work and get funding for their projects. But after a while, Henry became retired and became more just fixing. He became a mechanic and just fixing cars and pretty much doing all the updates to Eureka just for fun. I want to do something like that because it sounds pretty boring, but hey, if you're a genius and you're bored, maybe it's your thing to want to fix up a town and update things. So, he's pretty much Jack's friend. They do go through what you might call a argument during the series, but eventually it's more or less solved. Not so much, but it's kind of water under the bridge by the end of the series. Another of the member in the main cast is Fargo. He is what you might call a genius klutz. Even though he has like numerous PhDs, he's most of the time the cause of most of the stuff that goes wrong in Eureka. So basically, if something goes wrong, you can always blame Fargo, and everyone normally does, assuming that he's the cause of all the trouble. And other than that, he actually does some pretty good innovations. One of the places that Carter eventually lives at is actually something that Fargo designed. So he is actually a well-established genius. He just isn't as reliable as some of the others. So I'm going to continue on. So basically the story isn't really all that important. It's just basically what can go wrong, most likely will go wrong, kind of like a Mile Murphy's Law that happens in Eureka, but at the same time it's not. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in Eureka, and it's well worth the watch just to see all the scientific things that go on. If you're a real fan of theories of relativity or anything involving science, the show kind of makes the science come alive in a way most shows won't. And basically even though that most likely the technology to make things come alive, the science to come alive, isn't really real, this is basically your best simulation of if a hypothetical thing were to happen, this is most likely what will happen. Even though it may not happen in real life, this is the best bet you're going to get. So, my conclusion to this little show is that it's well worth the watch. Even if you like something drama, you'll find drama. If you want comedy, there is comedy. And if you just want to see stuff blow up or watch as more science stuff, then that's kind of everything in the show. One little bit of everything in the show. So, I would have to give this show, if I was I'm gonna rate it differently than my others. The rating system on the live action is going to be different, mainly because it's a little bit different. I want to do a different system. So instead of 5 stars, I'm going to give it out of 10. So basically everything that I've talked about is pretty good. So I would have to give it probably 8.5. It does good, and I think it could have done better. I think it could have gone longer if they really wanted it to. They had it so it could go longer, but in the end, it's just one of those things that you kind of want more, and it does really good at that. As far as recommendations, if you like Eureka, if you're interested in it and you watch it, and if it's your thing that you enjoy, this is a sci-fi show, so you might want to. So the best place to look for it is either on Google Play, Amazon, You might even be able to find it on Netflix if you can. But otherwise, I think it's worth a buy, honestly. But if you like that kind of sort of thing, then I was pointing to direction to another sci-fi show called Warehouse 13, where I will go over the story and the characters and all that a little bit if you guys are interested. If not, then I'll probably just end it right here. So, like, share, and subscribe. What kind of invention would you like to see in the show? And I'll see you guys later.